I'm Nathan Judah. I'm here with Wolves reporter Mr. Liam Keane. Liam, it is Tuesday, and that means
defenders.
The defenders. We're going to talk about the defenders. Let's go right to left. Let's start with Nelson Semedo. Semedo, what did you make of his season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've used the word mix with quite a few, and I think I'm going to have to use it again because.
And Wednesday and Thursday, probably Friday.
Yeah, he's early parts of the season okay. I think particularly during the end before the World Cup break, definitely tailed off. There was a lot of games. The Palace away one springs to mind. Back post. There was a lot of instances where he was allowing teams to get the upper hand really. Going forward, not as influential as he should be, where his strengths really lie. But then under Lopetegui, to his credit, I think hit a good patch of consistent form. So he's got that consistency in his locker because he did it with Bruno in last season for a long stretch before his injury. But he just needs to do it more often. Yeah, it's interesting. Lopetegui said when he came in, he didn't recognise the Nelson Semedo that he knew, turned it around, and of course they took up the club option on him. So it shows that they want him to be this right back, or the right back, or right wing back, depending on what formation they play, going forward for the next 2 years. Unless could they have done it and maybe potentially sell him in the summer? Because obviously now he's worth a lot more than what he was previously. Yeah, he's gone from free to being worth a bit of money. Yeah, look, absolutely possible they could do that. Lopetegui does like him though, so bear that in mind. But we know what position Wolves are in, so it's not impossible that they let him go. But I think it was a no-brainer really to take that option up. The club wanted to do it. Nelson wanted to stay. Lopetegui wanted to do that as well. So it was a no-brainer really. Okay, let's move on to someone who was on the periphery for much of the year. Had injury issues as well. Loss of form. Johnny, right back, left back, I guess. Apart from that one incredible goal, meaningless goal that we scored, and he got sent off 10 minutes later.
Do you think we've probably seen the last of Johnny as a Wolves player? Obviously it was a season to forget for him overall, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously it depends on whether a club comes in and pays a bit of money for him. He's under contract, of course. So there's a lot of ifs and buts as to whether he does leave. But it's obvious he's a fringe player. Lopetegui left him out for a long time. For me, easily his most disappointing season in a Wolves shirt. I know he had injury issues in the last 2 years or so. Well, issues is a soft way of putting it. Devastating injuries, really. And I feel for him because he was such a consistent player for Wolves and so good for so many years. Yeah. But it was just not good enough this year. Going forward defensively, weak on the ball, weak defensively. Unfortunate for him, but just not good enough. No, and do you think that's it for him? I think so. I think that if Wolves can get him out and give him an opportunity to play somewhere consistently, I think they'll take that option. But it comes down to a team coming in and taking a punt name really, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of clubs on the continent that will do that. But money talks. Right, centre backs, the trio mainly played at the back together. We'll talk about the duo first who started the season under Bruno Lage, which was Max Kilman and of course Nathan Collins. Yeah, I thought they actually started the season fairly well. I know Wolves didn't score a lot of goals and weren't winning a lot of games, but the first few results weren't too bad. It's really sort of September into October is where it started to tail off, and obviously up until the World Cup break in November. So I think Collins, I really do like him as a player. I think there's a lot of talent there. I just think he's a little bit raw. Yeah. Needs a bit of time. I think we'll benefit from some more time under Lopetegui. Long term, I think he'll be a good player for Wolves. Had some good moments this season, and obviously didn't play a lot once Lopetegui came in. But I think there's more to come for him, I'll put it that way. Kilman, talent-wise, I always thought he was up there, but again, it was a little bit of consistency. I think he's benefited when Cody's been alongside him, and then of course Dawson, who we'll come on to. Again, good parts in the early season, tailed off, and then found similar to Semedo, then found his consistency under Lopetegui, and he's been very good for the vast majority of the last 3 or 4 months, really. We just need to see that for the whole season, but we know he can do it because he did it last year. Yeah, Conor Cody obviously departed right at the start after making the bench against Leeds. We all know what happened after that. In comes, in January, Ballon Dawson. The big Ballon Dawson, and what a difference he made, didn't he? I mean, it was crying out for someone like that, someone with experience, European, Premier League experience, who can score goals. Had the dream debut down here, didn't he? Yes, he did. Yeah, and in 17 games for Wolves since signing in January, was one of the major catalysts for Wolves staying in the Premier League. I think that's obvious. Alongside the manager, alongside other signings like Lemina and all those other players, was a really important player for Wolves. There's no reason they wanted him in the summer, and unfortunately, it didn't happen. Because you can see how he organises that defence. He's a natural defender, gets his body in the way, and he's the kind of leader that leads by example. And when he's on the pitch, he helps
Max, for example, and it helps the players around him. And no surprise that Semedo looked a lot better once Dawson was playing there on that side as well. So a massive player in the second half of the season, a big reason why Wolves stayed up. And maybe a big player next season for us.
Right, left-hand side, goodness me, I mean, 3 players, 4 if you count Johnny, I guess, with the mainstays. Who's Wolves' first choice left-back at this moment in time? Would you... I guess it's Toti Gomes, right?
It has to be, hasn't it?
But if you said that at the start of the season, I would have thought you were absolutely crazy. But let's start with Toti, who, of course, assume would be pushing for a centre-back. Did play a little bit of centre-back. I feel he played. Did he did Liverpool, was it?
He did there, and he did at Forest as
well. In the FA Cup, not Forest. But left-back is where he finished the season and was one of the success stories, really, wasn't he?
You know what I think about Toti.
Oh, you love Toti. You love a bit of Toti. You love a bit of Toti on Saturday night. That London night,
Toti Gomes, I just used the phrase a second ago with Dawson, natural defender. For me, alongside Dawson, Toti is the most natural defender in the Wolves squad. And by that I mean someone who is in the right place at the right time, gets his body in the way, wins aerial duels. Well, he's also very athletic. He's not...
He is ripped, by the way.
A bit like me. He's
wow.
He's not afraid as well, because he's also not slow. He's not afraid to allow a player to take him to the byline and get a tackling or get his body in the way or make some sort of intervention. So he's not the tidiest on the ball. I think there's a lot of improvement to make there. But as a natural defender, someone to get you out of... I can't use the word.
Of course you can, we use it all the time.
Get you out of the...
Shit.
There you go. I wasn't sure if you want me to say that.
No, it's fine. I just see the videos no one's watching.
Particularly in a relegation battle, he's the perfect kind of defender to bring in. I don't think he's a long-term left back. I might be wrong, but I don't think he is. I think he is a centre half. But that versatility helped him. He deserved to get that opportunity, and again, I thought he played a big part in Wolves staying up.
Like you say, if it hadn't gone well for him, he could have quite easily found himself on loan. I would have thought towards the end of this season. But now he's integral in this first team squad, right?
Yeah, well, you might remember back in the summer, some Italian clubs tried to take him on loan, and Wolves turned it down. Rightly so, turned it down because.
You're right, I don't remember.
It was my story. Numbers wise, they needed him, of course.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think, as a defender, natural defender, he's one of the best Wolves have got.
Rayan Ait-Nouri, again, very disappointing, especially the end of the season. Played a little bit at the start, didn't he? It was kind of him and Bueno, depending on how Lopetegui or Brunel wanted to the opposition they were playing against, but nowhere to be seen, was he, to the end of the season? And again, you've got to question his future at the club.
Yeah, is Lopetegui fancy him? It's clearly not, as far as the last few months have gone by, and as far as they're concerned. Like, he is a player, again, who, I keep using this word, but it's obvious he's got clear talent. He's clearly a talented footballer.
This was a £30-40 million player people were touting him about.
Does he do enough off the pitch? Does he do enough probably in games? Is he improving enough defensively? Probably no at the moment. Is his potential being reached at the moment? Probably not.
It's not ability though, is it?
It's not ability.
Do you think it's upstairs? Do you think it's a little bit about mentality?
Yeah, I think so. And the way you train, the way you conduct yourself week in, week out throughout a season, it's difficult.
Sure.
It's really difficult to do. You've got to be a top professional. He's not a lazy footballer. He's not a lazy character. But is he fully committed to improving himself every week? At the moment, it doesn't seem that way. Has he got it in his locker to do that? Yes. So you've got to. I think if you can give him a bit of time and allow, it's a little bit of a luxury, and to allow him to develop, then I think you keep hold of him and you allow him to do that because there's a player there. Do Wolves have that luxury this summer? That's the question I've got to answer.
Was it a great, very good, okay season for Hugo Bueno when you look at it overall?
Considering he made his breakthrough, there was a couple of games obviously that didn't go as well. I think it's a good season for him. I really do. He's a player again who. Similar to Toti in the sense that he's full of heart. Hugo Bueno. He's someone who wears his heart on his sleeve. He puts a lot of effort in. It's never for a lack of trying or lack of wanting. He's always there fighting. And albeit yes, there's a little bit of work to do, a little bit rough around the edges perhaps. I think there's a good player in there. I really do. And to have a breakthrough season, get the opportunity into Steve Davis, and keep yourself in the frame until the end of the season is testament to him.
Was it the cross? Was it Palace away? That cross he put on there.
That was his first start. Sorry, not
first.
And that day, it was a Tuesday night, wasn't it? At Palace, I'll never forget it.
Who scored? Was it Traore?
Adama, yeah.
Header.
Yeah, back post.
They still lost that game, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost 2-1. That was the game. Semedo back post allows. I think it's the equaliser or the winner maybe. But So with Bueno, he wants to play for Wolves. He wants to be here. Wants to play and get that opportunity. And they're the kind of players that when you're going to get the best out of them. So I think he's a good player. I like him.
So next season, look, there's reported interest in Max Kilman. I think that's out there now. Could you envisage a situation where he goes for big money or good money? And if so, let's say Max Kilman goes, where do they need to spend? How many players need? How many bodies? What position do they need to get in?
So it's absolutely possible it could happen. Look, clubs are interested in him. He'll go for good money if he does go. Wolves will obviously benefit from that money.
It's one of the biggest assets, right?
Absolutely, yeah. In terms of asset, age, English profile, English position, and again, I use the word talent because I think he's a very talented footballer. It's all there, and I think he could play for a top 6 club, definitely. Is it possible? Definitely. Would Wolves benefit from it? Absolutely. Would they be willing to do it? They would. But of course, they're not going to be forced into selling a player that they like as well. So it's going to be a very interesting summer. Do they need to then invest in centre-back if they allow him to go? They probably do. What happens with Cody, obviously, is a big question mark. Toti Gomes, would I like to see him given more of an opportunity? I would. But would I also want to rely just on Dawson, Collins, Totti? And
what about Yerson Mosquera?
Well, Mosquera his loan is up until this summer, but then Cincinnati, the option's in their favour to keep him until January. He's playing really well there, playing regularly. It's very likely they're going to take that option. So you probably don't have him until January, hypothetically. Lopetegui likes him. I think he'd be happy to have him in and around the place, but is he going to get that consistent chance? Is he ready for Premier League football? Probably not. So
one centre-back.
Depending on what happens with Cody, you probably need to sign him there.
Do you need someone else to come in and challenge Nelson Semedo? That right? I think that's
if Johnny does go, even if he doesn't, you
need someone.
You probably do, yeah.
And then left, what do you do? Do you keep with what you've got? Because there's a plethora of options there. I assume one, if not two, might go. You've got Ryan Giles to come back into that equation as well. Is that one that's going to be up in the air? Or do you think he will have his own take on it and he'll know exactly where he wants to go with the position?
If no one leaves, it's not a priority for me, left back. No. Particularly when you compare to the other positions in defence. I think Toti can do a job there if you need him to, but I like Bueno, and if you can get more out of Ait-Nouri and he stays, then there's a very good player in there. So,
but realistically, one of those guys is going to get sold. Whether it's Ryan Giles, whether it's Rayan Ait-Nouri, one of those two you think are the most similar in type to have both on the books. If you need to sell to buy, so to speak, and to balance those books with FFP, then you think that those are going to be the most saleable assets there.
Yeah, and of course at the moment the manager's not having Ait-Nouri. It's been obvious from the last few months.
Sure.
So yeah, whether it is Giles, whether it's a loan or a permanent is probably more likely, considering it's a sort of stick or twist situation with him now. One of those players is most likely to move on. Of course, Johnny will probably add to that list as well.
Grades. Who's doing the first grade today? Defender's grade.
You can go first on this one.
Overall, I'm going to say B. B for grade, 2022-2023. We've got C yesterday, B today.
2 videos in a row. We are
BB.
We're agreeing.
BB.
BB, baby.
Wow, BB. Wednesday tomorrow we've got
the midfielders.
See you then.